Hello. David. Shh. He does it. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Day one is a wrap. How'd it go today? Good day today? Woohoo! I like that. That's good. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Really glad to hear it. Welcome, glad you're here. I missed you yesterday, but here I am today. I get to see all of your bright, sunny, shining faces, and I just want to say congratulations to each and every one of you. I don't know if Dustin or anybody said anything like this to you yesterday, but we are all so excited that you're here. I'm sure they did, and want to congratulate you on the bravery of coming here and being vulnerable with other people that you may or may not even know. It's such a gift to yourselves to carve out this time in your busy lives to indulge your necessary and essential creative elements. And so congratulations to each of you for deciding to make that choice and thank you for deciding to make that choice to spend that energy with us. So welcome, we're glad you're here. Hi, Meg. How's it going? Welcome. I'm David Simpson. I'm the program director here at the Fine Arts Work Center. My pronouns are he, him, his. And we have a great lineup for you tonight. We're going to hear from two of our favorite faculty members, Michelle T. and Zehra Khan. Big round of applause. And after each of their presentations, we'll get them all back on stage and we'll do a joint Q&A with you being the audience. It's called a audience Q&A. That's the technical term. So be thinking about your questions that you want to ask Michelle and Zehra when they're done. Before we start, a couple of bits of housekeeping, other items of interest. Tomorrow, how many people went to Chandra's talk today? Great, awesome. Was it a good experience? Glad you did it. Isn't she awesome? She is like such a great addition to our family. I'm so grateful to have her here. Tomorrow, equally so, Laura Shabbat is going to give her brown bag lunch presentation about folk artists and Provincetown as a historic arts community. She is incredibly knowledgeable and hilarious besides, and she knows everything about color that you ever want to ask. So if you have any like incidental questions about the color wheel or color theory, she's your gal. She's great. She's really smart. She's a beloved member of the Falk family. We'll be teaching in our online, we're launching our new Falk online workshops tomorrow, and she's going to be doing a great seminar on the book 9th Street Women. So keep your eye out for notice about that. It's going to be really great. Anyway, but tomorrow, in the meantime, 12:30, meet in here, and she'll do her talk here. It's really great. I would not miss it. I'll be making the rounds around noon to harangue you into going into listen to her talk. So don't you worry. And Thursday night, I have to say that I'm very pleased to see a number of names on the sign-up sheet across in the student lounge for Thursday night student night. Congratulations, everybody! A round of applause for you all. And extra points for actually whoever signed up on line 1. Awesome. You know what happens a lot? On the first couple of days, I'll go in there and I'll see tons of people signing up on page like line 7. It's like, I'll do it, but I'm not going first. I don't care as long as if nobody else signs up on lines 1 through 6, number 7's going first. So. But if you haven't signed up, I encourage you to do so. You won't be sorry. I know it's a big scary thing, but how many people have done student night, have read on student night in the past? Wilderness, good experience or not? Great. Do you feel? Everyone feels so good. They get so much appreciation. That's our hope. So you'll never find a safer, more supportive, embracing audience than you will in this room. So. You deserve it. Your creativity deserves it. So I really heartily encourage you to bite the bullet and sign up. I'll keep bugging you every night before Thursday night, believe. But go ahead and do that. I also like to remind you to consider supporting our new honor tax by making a donation to the Native Land Conservancy. We have the QR code and the URL on a little placard that Dustin is holding up at the back of the room. So I would just ask you to please consider doing that and help us further the work that we've started with our land acknowledgement and other items. So please consider doing that. Michelle will be, you both have books. You'll both be signing books at the back of the room at the end of the event. We'll have books by other summer faculty on the table, on the bookcase at the back of the room, and also in the bookstore between the two halves of the gallery. So check it all out. It's really great. We also have some sweet merch, great new t-shirt designs. Aren't they awesome? Can we hold, Dustin's gonna hold one up. Look at that. Ooh, so vibrant, so colorful, so, yeah, right, yep. And there's even one with a bigger, now he's gonna have to refold all those t-shirts. It's really sharp. Okay, they're going fast, so walk, not now, wait till after. Don't run, be safe. We also have we have some great totes. Do we have any totes back there? Where are the totes? Oop. Someone's in trouble. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No one's in trouble. There's look at brand new totes. And we even have a fire sale of old merch for incredibly affordable prices, so check them out. And also, please remember that if you're here on a scholarship, that you're entitled to a 30% discount on all the merch. So make sure just to let Hannah or Dustin know at the back of the room that you're here with us on a scholarship, and we'll be happy to provide you with that discount. The Hudson T. Walker Gallery, I'm going to stop any minute, I promise. The Hudson T. Walker Gallery, only have like this much left. It's not so bad. Is open now and will be open after the event. It's open every day from 12 to 5. Right now we have a great summer exhibition up called To Move a Mountain, curated by former fellow Cody Brown, and features work of a dozen or so past Falk Fellows. It's a wonderful show. All proceeds from work sold goes to support Falk's programming, so be sure to check it out, even if you're not going to buy something, which is totally okay, because who has $6 grand lying around? Not that everything's... Fuck, are we live streaming? I mean, I then swore before I said that. I'm just digging a deeper and deeper hole. Okay, I'm just going to move on, pretend like that never happened. I would like to show appreciation for the Arts Foundation of Cape Cod and the Cape Cod 5 Foundation for supporting very generously our summer public programming. Restrooms are down the hall. See, this is the sign we're getting close to the end. We have assisted listening devices at the back. If that would help you improve the quality of your experience tonight, please ask Dustin or Hannah, and they'll help you get set up with one of those. And finally, please do us a favor, and that's it. Turn off your cell phones. Last week, everyone's doing this. Halfway through the presentation, somebody's phone went off. Right, it's a little embarrassing. Anyway, so just turn off your phones. And now I'd like to invite one of Michelle's students, Lisa Z, to the stage to introduce Michelle T. Please welcome.
Okay, of course. There we go. Thank you so much. Of course, with that long intro, my computer kind of went off for a second. So welcome, everybody. My name is Lisa Z, and I am very pleased to be here. This is my first year at Hawk, and give me 1 second while I get my notes up. So let's raise the energy in this room a little bit, please. We were all out in the heat a little bit, right? We all had beautiful days today, but I think it's time to bring all that energy back to the beautiful, beautiful people that we have surrounding us around here, these creative people, and these wonderful people who are going to give us their gifts and their words tonight. I want to welcome everybody to Falk as part of this summer speaker series. So I know many of you are here for workshops and have had the chance to introduce yourself to people maybe that you've never met. So how do you introduce yourself? Before I introduce one of our key speakers, I'd like to ask, how do you define yourself? How do you introduce yourself? Do you mention your title, maybe that you're somebody's daughter or son, somebody's mom? Maybe you talk about your creative life. How do you define yourself? It's all about the words. So as I came to this workshop, we're talking about the words. Is there such meaning in the words without that deeper connection that's inside of you? If you were to take one word, just one word, to introduce yourself to the person next to you right now, even if you know them, what would it be? I mention this as being part of the writer's workshop here at FOC as we discuss how words have meaning, how words used to describe art, to describe creativity, to describe connection. If you did not have to introduce yourself as any of the roles you played so far in your life, if you could use one single word, how you feel right now, or what maybe you want to be, what would that one word be? And we're talking one word. And I'm going to ask you a favor, just to raise that vibration in this room. And I'd like you to turn to the person next to you or behind you and just say one word. Oh, I hear some extra words. So it's hard sometimes to put it into one word without explaining yourself. We're people of many words, especially as creative people. My word is very interesting. It's one who brought me to a specific workshop here at FOC. It's a word with deep historical, spiritual, and cultural meaning. It's the word witch. When I saw that Michelle T. was teaching a workshop entitled Writing for Witches, I envisioned myself in the class. I would be learning, writing alongside this award-winning writer here at FOC. That vision was over a year ago. The timing then did not align. So much was to happen in my journey before I was to learn and connect with my amazing classmates, my instructor. When people ask me to introduce myself, I could say I'm a college professor. I could say I'm a media personality. Yes, I have a voice. But I have more fun using the following description. I lead a group of empowered women, most of whom I've never met. They dress as witches and dance on the beach under the full moon. Many of them, every day, join my group. We're talking thousands of women joining groups of mine and groups like mine. They dance at parades, they dance at charity events. All older women and men dancing as witches. This has brought me to a place that has brought me here. The families of these people think they're crazy, but they're my tribe. Over the past year, I've been directing a documentary in which I've interviewed over 200 dancing witches from around the world. I've gone to places I've never been before, and my journey has changed the description I use to describe myself. And this class inspires me to embrace words that empower and connect. Our next speaker does just that, and she embraces the word magic. Michelle T. is an award-winning author of over 20 books, including the popular Modern Tarot and the recent Modern Magic. She is a recipient of honors of the Lambda Literary Foundation, Pan America, Rona Jaffe Foundation, the Guggenheim Foundation. She's the creator of the infamous Sister Spit Tours, the international phenomenon Drag Queen Story Hour, and the founding editorial director of queer indie publisher DOPAMINE Books. DOPAMINE's latest book, which you can find back there, The Anthology Witch, and you can join a party at the Gifford House on Friday. Shh, don't tell everybody. Well, tell everybody. This Friday at 7 with Michelle to celebrate that book. Reading from her novel, Little F, that is coming out in October from the Feminist Press, I'd like to introduce the empowering, creative, and very magical Michelle T.
Thank you. Oh my God, I love being here so much. I love this place. Yeah, there's going to be a party for the Witch Anthology Friday at the Gifford House at 7:30 with a bunch of contributors. So, and it's free, so just come and party with witches if you don't have any other parties happening. Okay, so I'm going to jump in sort of, I don't know, like a little bit into the book. This book, Little F, is about like a 14-year-old, like very fey gay boy named Spencer who, after suffering through a lot of bullshit, decides to run away. And so he did, and now he's sort of like, he's trying to get to New England because he has a fantasy that if he gets to Provincetown, actually, that some nice gay man who's like a preppy will adopt him. So that's, but right now he's kind of ragged, and he's in Texas. The sun was almost gone from the sky by the time I found my way to the bus station. At the ticket counter, I cleared my throat and conjured the dignity of 1,000 proud women in distress, black and white movie women with wide-brimmed hats and slim skirts. I arranged my face in an earnest yet proud expression. My eyes would connect deeply, hopefully, with the ticket seller, a woman who was ignoring me. She was a little jowly, her hair slicked back with a palmful of discount hair gel, a shuddering green mound of dippity-doo, Jell-O for hair. Her lips were very pink. They looked like a sticker of lips on the tan of her face. I cleared my throat once more. "I see you," she said. "I see you there with the coughing. You'll have to hold on a minute." I placed my hands on the countertop primly. I was channeling innocence. My bruises were fading, but if one looked close enough, one could see the jaundiced patches. I hoped the woman would look closely. I hoped her eyes would open wide with concern and benevolence. I straightened my posture, imagining silver screen heroines resting on sensible pumps. Why a woman, you ask? Why not a man? Because a man wouldn't be in this situation. A man would find some way to man his way around it. Men are not vulnerable, do not rely on the kindness of strangers. That is something women do. Women and also little faggots. Dippity-Doo raised her face. "Now I am ready for you," she said, barely glancing at me, readying her computer screen for a sale. "Where are you going?" "Well, madame," her face cut up at me in a scowl. Whoops. "I would like to speak with you about a conundrum I have found myself in," I continued. "Are you buying a ticket or aren't you?" I most surely was buying a ticket. That most surely was my intention. But I seem to have lost I almost said purse, but I didn't. I did not say purse. Billfold. And so I find myself stranded. I was hoping that you and your employer could kindly provide me with a ticket to New England, and upon my arrival, my uncle, a Harvard law professor, this is an imaginary person, will reimburse you for your kindness. I paused, a smile on my face. I am someone people say yes to. That's what I was channeling. "There's nothing direct to New England. We have a bus that goes as far as New York. It's $254. She looked at me blankly. She did not understand a word I said. She did not speak the elegant language of a proud woman in distress. Could I be a kid instead? I assembled my face into something more gee whiz. But then if I was too much of a kid, she might call the cops. I put my face down on the counter. Now she'd think I was a drug addict. "I don't have any money," I said frankly. "I need a free ticket. I can get the money to you later, okay?" She laughed at me outright. "We don't give free tickets, sorry." "But I'm stranded. I don't have the money. I've been in an accident, see?" I angled my face at the light, urging her to see the greenish-yellow tint to my cheekbones. "I need your help." "Join the club." She motioned outward at the waiting area. The various people slumped in chairs or against walls. Some were watching me, shady-looking adults, adult men. A kid, a boy, someone my age, maybe a teenager. He was by himself. He had dark skin and slippery black hair in need of a haircut. I looked away, embarrassed at being a spectacle. "You think I should give all of them tickets too, huh?" "Yes," shuddered an old man with a crinkly white beard. "Praise the Lord." "See," she demanded. "Come back when you can pay for your ticket like everyone else. Next." There wasn't anyone behind me in line. That was my dismissal. She bent her head of crunchy hair back down toward the computer and hit some keys. My heart hammered in my chest. I felt the eyes of a room full of bored people on my back, and this lady, this terrible lady, acting like I was a piece of trash that had blown onto her windshield. "Good day," I huffed, and turned my back to her, facing the people. All their eyes really were on me. Feeling it, I felt tears start to prickle. I searched wildly for a place to hide, spotted a bathroom, aimed myself into it. The bathroom was a dank cave, one that seemed attached not to the shiny and relatively clean bus station, but to an abandoned building in a bad part of town. Like someone would pop out of a stall and try to sell you drugs. The dim yellow light flickered, and the mirror over the sink was a polished piece of metal that warped your reflection. The stalls, amazingly, had no doors on them. How beastly! Were men expected to defecate publicly, like an animal at the zoo? The whole scene was so abjectly fascinating that I, for a moment, forgot my humiliation, but then it returned, and my face began to run with snot and tears. I tugged rough paper towels from a dispenser on the wall and mopped my face. I was huffing and sniffling when a man came into the room, one of the guys from the waiting room. He was maybe 30 and looked like nothing. Sandy hair, white face, a t-shirt, pants. He could have been homeless or had a home. He could be poor or he could be okay. He could be upstanding or he could be a menace. "There you are," he said. "I saw that at the counter. That bitch is a real bitch, ain't she?" Of course she was, but I didn't want to sink to the level of this bus station culture, calling a pathetic lady a bitch while chatting in a rancid bathroom with some strange man who says ain't. But you're a runaway, I reminded myself. This is what runaways do. I looked up at the guy, toughening my face, flicking my crumpled paper towel into the overflowing wastebasket. Being a woman hadn't worked. Maybe I'd try being a man. Totally, I said. Total fucking bitch. "You need money?" he asked. "You going to see your uncle? Where does your uncle live?" "Massachusetts," I said. "Provincetown." He wrinkled his face, which was already wrinkled. His face had spent its life in Texas, never using sunscreen. Tanned creases. He had gray in his hair, but his hair was sort of light, so it blended in. He didn't have any luggage. "Provincetown. Never heard of it." "It's wonderful," I promised him. "You really got in a car accident?" he asked. "Or did your dad do that to you?" I blanched. "No, my dad, no, he would never do that. He'd never hit me." "Uh-huh." The guy nodded like I was boring him to tears. He wasn't very exciting either, but at least the encounter had prompted me to pull myself together. "I can give you money for your ticket if you help me out," he said. Oh boy. As if I needed further evidence that every bad thing you hear about in the world is true. If I tried to dash out of the bathroom, the man could easily block me. He had positioned himself that way. Like everyone, he was considerably larger than me. "Gee," I said, "let me guess what you want me to help you with." I sounded smart, but my heart was pounding. I could scream, but if I made a scene, the police would become involved. Who knows what this man would tell them? I was a street kid trying to scam a bus ticket. I was wanted for attacking a popular kid like a rabid pit bull. I was an unreliable witness to my own experience. "You've helped up men before?" he asked. "No," I snapped. "You don't really have an uncle," he said, studying me. "And you weren't really in an accident. I'm not going to touch you, but if you come in the back stall with me, I'll buy you a bus ticket." "Can I come too?" The long-haired boy from the lobby was suddenly with us, sliding around the man and into the bathroom. His voice was loud, and there was something colorful about him, a boundingness, as if he was a small rubber ball that had ricocheted into the room. "Hey," he said, "I heard all that. I need some money. Me too." The man looked annoyed. "Calm down," he said to the kid. "What, do you think I'm a bank? I'm making an arrangement with this boy right here. Don't try to horn in on his game. It's rude." The boy looked at me. His eyes were dark and wide. "Am I?" he asked. "Am I cutting in on your game?" No, I said quickly. "I don't have a game. You can have him." The man reached out and cuffed my arm up by my shoulder, squeezed me there, like a snake choking in a rat. "I want you, not him," he said. "Hey, you said you wouldn't touch me," I struggled. "You did, man. I heard you say that. No touching," the kid chimed in. The guy let go. "Jesus," he sighed. He couldn't take his eyes off me. Great, so at least I am irresistible to perverts. Why didn't he want the other kid? The other kid was sort of beautiful. He looked like a shard of desert stone, a slice of canyon. He wore baggy skater shorts. He'd maybe chopped off from a wide pair of pants and some sort of army shirt with the sleeves cut off. He wore a rope around his neck with nothing on it. When his long bangs flopped around his face, I could sometimes see something, a speck on his cheek beneath his eye, a star. "Listen, I am not a rich man," said the pervert. "I have enough for a bus ticket, one bus ticket. You two want to split the money? Figure it out together. Now, I don't have all night. There are other boys I could be helping if you don't need my help." I did need his help. Enough to do this? If he didn't touch me, I couldn't be hurt, right? It would be easier with someone else there, even this kid, a stranger. His sneakers were filthy old high tops with zebra stripes. He had zebra stripes on his arm, too, white lines, little scars that glowed pale on his skin. "Sure," I said, "you can come. I'll split it with you." Because wasn't this all of my punishment? My karma, Joy would say, for not having been generous with the hippies. Oh, that's another drama. For lying, for not sharing what I had, for taking so much from them. Now I needed help, and this was what I got. Should I be grateful? I'd have $125, half a ticket. "After you," the kid said, gesturing. The man led us into the wide, pissy handicap stall at the rear of the room. I turned around to make sure the kid was really coming. He was. He winked at me, or perhaps it was the light. It was dim and slightly strobed with the flickering of a half-dead bulb. In the stall, by the toilet where the man leaned, it was even darker. "Come here, come close," said the pervert. "Let me see you, both of you." He unzipped. I didn't want to look. I didn't want to be the first one. I didn't want it to be the first one I'd ever seen. I guess I felt like there was something inside me that needed to be protected, even if I didn't know what it was. The kid was looking straight at it. I know because I had decided to look at the kid. His bangs fell down his face, and peering in, I could see the smudge of that star. Did he draw it on his face, I wondered? What would I look like with a star drawn on my face? Ridiculous, like a clown. You can touch yourself if you like, the pervert generously offered, or each other. Just relax, do whatever you like. The kid looked at me, and I looked away quickly, scared to have been caught staring at him. I looked at the man, not meaning to. Ugh. Dogs, cow lips, Slim Jims. Want me to come closer? Asked the kid. The man nodded and made a noise. He was losing his verbal skills. The kid slunk away from me alongside the wall like a cat. He slid up to the man. He unzipped his pants. His hand disappeared, but not there, not into his zipper, into his pocket. He pulled out a dark handle, and with a barely audible flick, a sharp blade sprung from it. It caught all the light in the lightless room and glowed like a magic wand. It was at the pervert's throat in an instant. I don't care about you, man, at all, the kid said to his face. You get it, right? You get it? I will push this thing into your fucking throat and flush your head down the toilet. I stopped breathing. I felt dizzy, like I was someplace very high and had suddenly looked down. I reached out and touched the cool cinder block wall of the bathroom. I did not care that it was filthy, that I was maybe touching excrement or who knows what. The cinder block wall felt solid. I watched the kid's slender arm muscle flex. Feel that? Yes, the pervert said in a very small voice, afraid to move his vocal cords against the knife. Reach into your pocket and give me your wallet, fucking slowly. The kid's muscle flexed again and the guy whimpered. It's sharp, right? Said the kid. It's real. This is fucking real. The guy shifted and a wallet was in his hand. Throw it on the floor. Throw it to him. To me? The wallet skidded like a puck on the floor, hitting my loafers. Pick it up, the kid ordered. Was he robbing me too? Was I his helper or was I under his command or both? I picked up the wallet. It was leather, worn and smooth, warm from being so close to the pervert's body. And it was fat. Open it quick. I did. There was a lot of money shoved in there. It was way more than $200. He could have bought bus tickets for me and the kid and the old man praising the Lord out there in the lobby. Check his ID. I did. What's his name? I squinted in the dark. It was a Texas ID. There was the man, maybe a few years back, a little less wrinkled, a little less tan. That's what he looks like when he smiles. Darren McDaniels, I said. Darren McDaniels, the kid said into his face. Darren McDaniels. I bet you're on the registry, huh? It would be so easy to bust you. If you fucking try anything, we will bust you. I'm going to give you just a little cut just so you have something to take care of, and we'll get the fuck out of here, okay? Okay, said the pervert who had a name, Darren. The kid drew the knife across Darren's neck. I gasped. So did Darren. The pervert named Darren clutched his neck. Chill out, said the kid. I didn't kill you. There was blood on the knife. The man roared like something shot, but not fatally, just enough to make it charge you, to make it want revenge. His hands shot out and shoved the kid across against the wall. I heard his head hit the cinder block. I screamed. The kid still had the knife. He jabbed out with it, getting Darren in the arm. The knife was in the arm, then out of the arm, and there was blood, and Darren clutched his arm, roaring. Run, yelled the kid, and I did. I still had the wallet right in my hands, like a thief. I was running with the stolen wallet. I could not stop and put it in my backpack or my pants. I just ran with it out into the terrible brightness of the bus station, where people had heard the commotion, heard Darren's roar and my scream through their sad days. You go, cheered Praise the Lord, man. You go, praise the Lord. Dippity-Doo stood up from her swivel chair and looked around, upset. The kid was behind me, his sneakers smacking the floor. His knife was still open, covered in blood. Call the cops, Darren McDaniels hollered. Help me stop them, call the cops. The glass door flung open and I hit the warm, hot night like a wall. Go, the kid urged me. Go, go, go. He drew ahead. Follow me. And I did. I followed him, tripping over my loafers, holding onto the wallet as if it was keeping me alive. In the dark, I lost sight of the kid and then found him again, a bobbing dark form in the distance. My body's many injuries sounded their alarm at this sudden rough motion. I can't run. How I hate to run. How I hate to break a sweat. How jealous I was of Joy and all the girls with their womanly excuses to skip gym class once a month. I huffed and puffed while the kid flew. We were moving over rocks that jumped up as my feet hit them, slowing me down. And then I tripped over a bar on the ground and did a face plant into a bed of chunky gravel. We were on train tracks, I realized. I still clutched the wallet. I did not let go of the wallet. I looked behind me, waiting for Darren McDaniels or one of his pervert friends. I was that girl in the horror movie, The Fallen One, looking back in a red-mouthed scream. But no one was there. All was silent, all but the sound of the kid jogging back to me, his feet light on the gravel. He still had his blade out. You okay, he asked. Then, you got the wallet? I waved it at him. Give it to me, he said, and I obeyed. He was holding a bloody knife. He slid the wallet into one pocket, then kneeled down and stabbed his knife into the ground, pushing the blade back into the handle. It opens good, but it's hard to close. Aren't you going to clean it, I asked. Nah, it's scarier that way, like I've killed and I'll kill again. Have you? No, he said, but I would if I had to. My dad told me if you carry a weapon, you've got to be ready to use it. Your fly is still down, I said helpfully. Thanks. He zipped it. Listen, I have a boxcar down here I'm staying in. Do you need a place to stay? Or if you just want to come by, I can pay you out. I don't want to do it here on the tracks. Someone could still be coming. Pay out? I scampered back on my feet. You're cut. He smacked his thigh where the pervert's wallet lay. Right, I said. I had been part of that, a robbery and an assault with a deadly weapon. I crunched alongside the kid through the darkness of the tracks until we reached a disabled car tilting off to the side against a stand of trees. It wasn't easy to get into. It was big, heavy, and rusty. The rust coated my hands as I clutched at some bars and hoisted myself up on my belly, sliding along the floor like a seal. The kid was more like a monkey. He swung himself in expertly, but it was his house. And it really was a house. He had a little oil lamp, which he lit, and a lousy blanket and a plastic bag of scavenged food. Around the lamp were some rocks, including one that looked like a geode, sparkly, and a feather and a little black and white picture, like from a photo booth. It felt cozy, like a clubhouse. Wow, I said. How long have you lived here? Just a couple nights, he said. Tonight is the last one. It looks like you live here, I said, noticing the trashy garland of ribbons stuck on the metal above our heads. I like to make a home everywhere I go, he said. I bring my light and my blanket, but everything else I leave. I always find new decorations wherever I land. The kid slid onto his butt and dug the perv's wallet out of his pants. He flipped it open. Man, this feels good, he said. He pulled out the bills, a mix of 10s, 20s, 5s, and 1s. He counted it and put it in piles. 300 even, he said, for both of us. 300 each? Yes, he affirmed. That gets me to New Orleans with cash to spare, and it gets you straight to the other side of the country. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle, for that amazing reading. That was so funny and gripping, and I can't wait to read the whole book. Can we give another round of applause to Michelle? Woo! And now I have the pleasure of introducing Zehra Khan. Zehra Khan is a multidisciplinary artist whose work includes drawing, sculpture, installation, performance, and painting, the latter often on her fellow humans. She received an MFA from the Massachusetts College of Art and Design at the Fine Arts Work Center in Provincetown in 2007, back when we had an MFA, we don't anymore, and a BS from Skidmore College. Khan loves traveling to art residencies, including Yaddo, the studios of Key West, Oxbow, iPark, the Vermont Studio Center, Art Space Sonahmoo in Korea, and Space A in Kathmandu. Khan lived year-round in Provincetown from 2007 to 2018 and now lives in Chicago. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Zehra Khan.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming. It's such a pleasure to be here in Provincetown again. All right. My name is Zehra, pronounced like Sarah with a Z. I was born in Indonesia in 1983. Then I lived in Paris for 7 years, Switzerland for 3 years, and then I moved to Massachusetts, Lexington. My father is from Pakistan. My mother's from Idaho. That's my sister, and a cat that comes into my work pretty often. This was the beginning of my journey. I feel like it's especially relevant for the writers among you to that I was a timid writer that didn't want anybody to read anything, so I would hide the writing inside portraits. They were often about the subject matter or the moment at hand. And I often did a self-portrait every year. So the first one was with long hair. Next one, cut off the hair. Next one, really cut off the hair. And I was just trying to explore how to use these words in space, how visible they were, how legible. And usually the subject matter was myself or people that I knew. And for a long time, I could follow the writing and read them. I kind of start them like I would do any other portrait, which would be with the eyes first and then move out. But here I'm starting to play with, well, maybe the words need to belong everywhere, not just in the person. And here trying to experiment with color, but the words were starting to feel a little bit more formulaic and like they were holding me back a little. This was thesis work at Skidmore College. Oil paintings for a brief period of time. And I'd always doodled on myself, on my skin, writing notes. I think a lot of kids do. And then I realized, why not draw something with it? So I was at a party, and a friend said, sure, go ahead. So I was experimenting with the human form in writing and drawing in ballpoint pen. So this was another early ballpoint pen piece. And I realized that because the person was so pale that writing on them kind of raised, like, not blood to the surface, but, kind of made him pink for a short period of time. So I started wondering, well, how am I going to photograph these? This piece from above, with the inclusion of my feet, it was just like a quick documentation in time. So I did my MFA here at FOC, and I started painting animals. I think as a reaction to studying so much serious art, I thought, well, I just want to draw every animal that I can find in a nature book. But these were animals behaving badly. I was in my 20s, so the subject matter was love and excess. And how do we meet others? The social scene, drinking, smoking, the foxes vomiting, meeting each other. This is more of an experiment on graffiti, bathroom wall graffiti specifically. So I'm kind of just butting up against academia as a reaction. And I found that one of my animals of choice was rats. Because there is such a reaction from people seeing 2 rats versus seeing 1, seeing multiples. And I was thinking of them as as people, but not behaving, rats behaving like people. These are small note cards, which I would do when I was traveling. Often people will sit on the subway and maybe paint other people that are on the subway cars with them, and I felt that was so awkward to be staring at someone and have them kind of see what I was doing, but I liked the idea of traveling and continually working. So I had my little note cards, and I would just draw a rat. And on the back side, I would write where I was at the time of drawing it. Then I realized those rats, what happens if I put them on people? So this is a rat vomiting down the back of my friend, who was very kind and offered to pose for me many times. This is done out of Sharpie, just spur of the moment, still not sure about how to document it. Then I thought, all right, I'm going to give it a more conceited effort, so I did it in paint, an acrylic paint. And I thought, well, I'm going to try to pose you. So odalisque is that side pose, very much from classical painting. But, also taking the pictures with the feet, trying to figure out what is the best photograph to show these little rats. What was great about the rats is I was traveling a lot, and so I could bring the rats with me. I was in Paris and found a friend who was willing to sit. I could also paint on myself. And here I, started marking up the bathtub by mistake as I was getting ready to clean it off, and realized, all right, there's some interesting relationship here between the marks that exist outside the composition of just the skin. Then I realized I could be the rat. So I made a fat rat costume and did a piece of drinking, smoking, and eating goldfish crackers all at the same time. And I asked my friend to film it. So I started thinking, what are these rats in 3 dimension? Then I realized, well, a little bit more exploring, I'm going to paint the marks on myself and wear the costume, smoke and jog up and down this hill. And the lighting, started to become important. It's the middle of the night. I just asked 2 people to hold big flashlights in one area, and I would run in and out of the light and the frame. There's not much to it. Now I'm starting to develop the background, realizing that there could be larger stories to tell here. The mask is it's like an oven mitt. It's just a flat, painted on both sides. So the angle really matters. If it was straight on, it would look like a shark's fin. It would look like nothing. So I had to pose this person in a specific direction, and I took photographs. And here's, a larger image of what was left over. And I realized, oh, well, I have this big set. What do I do with it? And I thought maybe putting in the 3 painted rats in the middle kind of left the energy of having that person there. And playing with 3 dimensions, popping out certain elements, like a pop-out book. This piece is called Last Cigarette. I was a smoker at the time, and I was thinking of a message in a bottle. If you're smoking in there, you're expiring by your own hand. And as these pieces were bigger, I realized I needed to take test pictures to make sure all this work wasn't going to be in vain. So during this test, I realized that the white canvas was blowing out, so I needed to put in some blue, to anchor the piece. I had drawn the marks on a bed sheet and was wearing that as the skin. And that's the illusion, is balancing on a camping chair. So then the folded up piece of paper hides the camping chair. And I'm wearing a bikini, which is a painting on bed sheets again. So I was really enjoying the kind of the trash of it all. And I started collaborating with others and realizing that we could develop the story a little bit. Now there was a bit of a narrative. The piano playing rat woke up the sleeping rat, and then a domestic squabble begins. Experimenting with other animals. It's a pawn shop run by 2 foxes, clever foxes. And I am wearing a costume that is basically a painted pillowcase. And this was a collaboration that, it was at an art residency, so I invited other people to participate within it. These are all writers who had shoes that were similar, and so I was like, all right, you guys are going to be an act together. Jumping through the hoop of fire, knife throwing act. And of course, I loved it, accidental in a way, that the cardboard knife was just fluttering away instead of hitting any target, not at all. This was a woman who was a rock climber, and we did now she's on a tightrope walk, but it's actually a very small illusion. She had plenty of room to walk on. That's not a real tightrope. So experimenting with the animal characters brought me to the Dune Shacks here in Provincetown, where I was living, and an incredible stay. But it's like the surroundings were so gorgeous, I didn't feel like I had to paint anything. I just wanted to be a character living in these spaces. Now, coming back to making, my family has always been makers. The women were always making quilts and embroidery and sewing rugs together. So I decided I loved that tradition of taking swatches from family members, from old dresses, from clothes, and you get to kind of absorb the people that you're taking these swatches from. So I used old drawings, paintings, photographs, all the things that weren't quite finished, weren't quite right, that, I've put a lot of time into, so I didn't really want to just throw them out. I thought, well, why can't I just reconstruct them, put them in a new context? And I used elementary school homework, just all kinds of stuff. And that was the backside. The next quilt, I started out with one specific square that said, "Oh shit." And I realized, oh my God, it's so labor intensive to cut out these little letters. So I was like, well, that's going to be the title of the whole piece now. And I was breaking some more of the rules. So it's not just straight collage. I was painting on top of it afterwards. So a lot of the time I have to remind myself to break the rules that I've set up for the project. Instead of finishing it tightly in the middle, I thought, oh wow, these dark shapes kind of looked sinister. And so I thought, okay, broken, old, dirty, rotten teeth, broken teeth. And I also like bringing something weird and sinister to this kind of beautiful, elegant braided rug craft. And there are postcards from exhibitions inside of the weasels in the sand dune. So I'm kind of cannibalizing a lot of my own work, my own art process. This was a torn, fitted sheet with Sharpie, drawn on both sides, which kind of saturated it at different levels. But I loved the kind of excess of labor that was going into essentially trash. This was a full sheet. Back to animals. And there's the words cautiously optimistic. At first I had done the animals with little captions, and then I realized I didn't want people to read it again, so obscured. And this kind of shows that the fox's marks are done from the backside, so that's why they're so light and faint. This was an accumulation of those costumes. I just ripped them up flat and then sewed them together, thinking it's kind of like a hide. But also, I don't want to throw out the costumes. I spent a lot of time. What do I do with it? Put them back together. This kind of just shows the scale. It's hanging in my apartment. It was called Provincetown Rat Blanket. There's the P-Town Monument is in the side. It was kind of this fanciful rat frenzy. And then, still trying to absorb some of where I am, Provincetown. I was thinking of the Botticelli's Venus rising out of the ocean. And, Provincetown, this was my version of the Botticelli. This was also done after a classical painting of Dürer's Adam. And I hated the drawing so much that I decided to collage on top this whiter canvas and just keep the part that I liked, which was the hand kind of emanating this light, this power. And there's a Van Gogh vase of flowers, and then a Monet lily pad, and then I realized cat should belong in there because cat. So during this process of making costumes and masks, I realized hot glue became essential because the bond is instantaneous and can create flexibility. Of course, you're going to burn yourself along the way, but that's part of the process. But as I created these props and masks, I realized these objects could live alone as well, not just part of an installation. And I love outdated technology. Or this is just a love of it was from a bouquet of roses, and I thought collecting the rose leaves was kind of anti-bouquet. You know, like you're not collecting the flowers. I was just collecting the leaves. And then I realized I could create work basically just of the hot glue alone. So that's just hot glue. And I'm thinking of them as textiles, working on them as both sides at the same time, kind of like lace. This is with the inclusion of slivers of paint from a palette. When you peel it up, sometimes what's left is so gorgeous. I just didn't want it. They're like gems. I didn't want to throw it away. Then this was painting on the hot glue. And if it was in gold, it's like I've made a gold piece. All of a sudden, it's super precious. I'm rich. At the same time, I want to make these cats or these animals, I wanted to try them to come alive in space. So I say it's paper mache. At the beginning, it was more paper mache. Then I realized I could break those rules. And because I've been using hot glue all this time, I realized I could really start using the hot glue in the definition of the characters. So trying to bring back the animals behaving badly. I did this piece while on residency from a pile of trash. And I loved the idea of pigeons being made of trash. And there were pigeons outside my studio cooing at me the whole time. And I was like, I got to make a couple pigeons. And then so that kind of launched a whole series. And then this is all kind of fake jewels. It's pins, sewing pins that I hammered into him. Gems from the 99-cent store, screws, nails, and I loved how heavy he started to become. Because everything I make is hollow or light or made out of paper, so it's actually very, very light. Not this piece. So this is done with my favorite old hat, which had lost elasticity, and I didn't want to throw it out, so I had to keep it. And that is done out of colored hot glue, which you can find online. Only for miniature sizes. There's two sizes of hot glue. One is the industrial size, and then one's the miniatures. And I found it colored hot glue in the miniature size. And this was based off of a real photograph of a pigeon sitting on his butt with his legs out. And I thought, well, that's super weird. I love it. He's not supposed to be sitting that way. I want to make that moment. And some more of those gems from the 99-cent store. This was made by covering a previous pigeon with packing tape and then cutting it off and gluing the gems on, but without applying too much heat because he would melt if there was too much heat. And then this is coming to work my latest work, where the hair lines, what I consider the fur lines, are defined by hot glue. So it's really kind of going further away from the paper mache. And I took this photograph with the orange in it, just as like a contrast so I could gauge the color. But then I loved it as like an offering to this demigod. And this was the latest piece, a sitting cat, where I'm bringing in the 99-cent store gems into like adding value to him, making him glitter and not quite gold, but silver and rich, and with these kind of golden coin eyes. And the point of him was to, this is the largest piece I've done. He kind of comes up to here. And I was thinking about when I was a child and the cat was almost the same size as I was. And if he brushed up against me, he might knock me over. So there I am for scale. And that's me with the cat from the original picture. But I found that going back to the past is sometimes where I need to be now. So thank you so much to the Work Center. Thanks.
Thank you, Zehra. That was incredible. I would let's give another round of applause. Woo! I would love to live in a world that is just your art, like the blanket and my cat and friends, and that would be amazing. So now we're going to invite Zehra and Michelle back to the stage for a joint Q&A. Before we begin, I just want to remind you to wait for Dustin to come around with the mic before asking your question. We're live streaming this event, so we just want to make sure that those watching at home can hear your questions. So yeah, come on up to the stage and just turn your mic on.
Hi. Thanks so much for sharing both of your work. My question is for Michelle T. I'm interested in what your process is in terms of narrative story writing. If I really found myself able to embody or and really put myself in that person's position so easily. And I'm just curious, how much you imagine imagine a fictitious character outside of yourself, or imagine yourself in these scenarios. I'm just curious open-endedly about that.
Is this on? Yeah. Yeah, I am too. What is happening? I have no idea. It's so weird. I knew that I wanted to write from I knew I wanted to write a story about a boy, because I just have written about girls so much, and he's just the girliest boy, of course, but I don't know. I just sort of, it just sort of happened. I think I'm so comfortable writing in the I that maybe just that using that first person made it really come alive. But I'm so happy to hear that it had that effect. I feel like writing is really mysterious, and I just had this character kind of in my head for a while, and I just sat down with them and let them out. Yeah.
First of all, thank you. Really amazing. Did you two know each other before this?
No.
Because the way your work complements each other is really striking. It's beautiful. Yeah. My question, to follow up, it seems like there's a catharsis in the way your work develops. And my question is, for both of you, do you begin with a destination in mind, or are you creating kind of intuitively and let the work lead you wherever it's going?
Do you want to answer that first?
Thank you for that. I think that's why I make so much different kind of work, is because I'm answering a lot of different questions, and I need to make physical things, I need to photograph. That's all I got for now, sorry.
I need to know how the story ends. Otherwise, I can get really lost, because I like to go on tangents and just follow a little spark. And I've found that if I really know what I'm writing towards, I can do that, because I know I'll get back on track, because I gotta get there. So I kind of knew where it would end, but I really didn't know along the way where they would go. So, yeah.
And I just want to quickly mention, I forgot to say my work is up currently in Wellfleet at a gallery called Farm, which is near Preservation Hall. And it is open Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And this Friday I'm having a conversation with Megan Hinton about the work at the gallery.
My question for both of you, so Michelle T, I've read your work for a long time, love it, and you've changed between audiences as you write for queer adults or queer teens or queer children. And Zehra, I just learned about your work, I really like it. And you have changed materials a lot of times, and the kind of installation process for each thing was different, and I'm wondering if your audience has also changed and how both of you think about making art for different audiences.
Yes, I try to make art that works for the space specifically. I think if I'm making it for myself, it kind of, that is the work that draws people in the most. So if it makes me laugh, it kind of works. I love the idea of children enjoying my work. I did write a children's book, which, you know, kind of, I left out the racy parts of my work, obviously, for that audience. So I do think about the audience members, but I think the guiding principle is if it pleases me and it works best.
I agree. Even though it's true that I have a lot of different books that maybe have different tones or topics or obvious age ranges, like for kids' books, I kind of am always doing it for me. Like even the kids' books, I didn't write them until I had a kid, and then was just like sick of kids' books and wanted to write. I was like, oh, there should be a kids' book about astrology or drag queens, you know? But it is really my own interest for the most part, occasionally influenced by like I don't know, like my agent or something who's wonderful, but like sometimes being like, read it for everybody, and I'm just like, hey ladies, you know, and it gets this like, hey ladies, like kind of like women's magazine like tone to it, which I cringe at later, so I'm really trying not to ever do that again. Totally purely like a capitalist experiment that got me money but failed my soul, you know. So, but I try to just write the same thing, just like whatever feels correct to me, or like, yes, you know. And I occasionally have written to impress Eileen Miles, because people have told me, like, I heard somewhere like, write to impress, you know, like your favorite writer or something. I was like, oh, everything I'm writing, I'll just write for Eileen. And Eileen has like a pretty sharp bullshit meter, so I definitely have some books that I did not write for Eileen.
Thank you both. It was really great. Zahra, I really enjoyed the work. Terrific, and to see the full range of it was really great. I'm curious about the later work, the sculptural work, and your relationship or understanding or appreciation of outsider art. There's a certain sophisticated naivete about it, but there's also that same kind of obsessiveness of it, you know, and especially with the decoration with all the false gems. And so I'm just curious to hear you talk about that.
I love outsider art. I love obsessiveness. I love repetition. It's a meditation. I think that's what brought me to a lot of that work, is because I needed something repetitive that I could just mark make and mark make and mark make. And I would watch TV and mark make. I would listen to the radio, or, you know, like I wanted something to do with my hands, much like a quilter just wants to do something. And I think I am I think that's what inspires a lot of outsider art, is it's really for themselves, a lot of it. So I relate to that.
Thank you both so much. That's incredible. I have a question that came up in your talk, Zehra, that I'd love you both to comment on. You mentioned reminding yourself during your process to break the rules. And I'm really interested in how disruption works in both of your processes, how that can be prompted. Like, do you have any mechanisms to remind yourself to do that, or like how that works?
Disruption always comes, whether you like it or not. And I like to embrace it. You know, the happy accidents or whatever, I say bring it on. I say there's no mistakes in art, and that you just have to figure out how that works. And I often am drawn to processes that encourage mistakes. Working in ink on the floor instead of upright, you know, just like it's splattering ink. I encourage mistakes.
Yeah, I think that left to my own devices, I don't know that I have a lot of rules. I just get into this sort of fugue state and just follow my thoughts and my interest. But I have found that when I am working in a way where, for me, there's the work that I've made just because I'm a writer and I wrote, and oh my God, now I have a career. It's bizarre. And then there's the work where it's like, well, now you have a career and you're selling books, and you told a publisher you're going to do this book, and now they bought it. Now you have to do it. And that is where I really have to remind myself that I don't have to follow their, like, I know I told them I'd do that, but I don't really have to. You know what I mean? Like, I have to remind myself that, because I just feel like it triggers, like, I'm like 16 years old and I think I'm going to get fired from my job or something. I'm just like, oh God, I better be a really good, writer or something, instead of just being like, this was my best guess at what I thought this book would be, and now I'm going to write it and, be, and remind myself that, like, I'm I'm the boss of me. I get to write what I want, kind of, because I can be really easy to kind of feel like, okay, I'm a writer for hire, in this way. And certainly I've done that to make money, but when it's a book with my name on it, it can't really be that, I think, can be satisfying. So yeah. It's like, when you feel it wanting to come out, and you just have to, like, let it come out.
One more right here.
Hi, thank you both so much. I'm curious for both of you, what is your relationship with your work and, like, nature and spirituality?
You're in my class. You're cheating. I have a spiritual practice, and certainly it's part of my work, but not in any real obvious way. I think it's, just kind of there. And similarly with nature, I'm not somebody who, I grew up in Chelsea, Massachusetts, and I've always lived in really urban places. And I feel like I just understood really what nature really fucking is, like, a few months ago, and now I'm just like, whoa, wait a second. Like, okay, but I don't really have a history of having some like a practice of being in nature or feeling like I understand it. So yeah, they might be a little parallel, but probably influencing each other more than I realize. I like to do something a little ritualistic before I begin writing, but I also have to be very vigilant not to become OCD about it and think that, oh, I didn't do my thing and now it's gonna suck. It's like, you can be superstitious, so can't do that either.
I suppose my version of spirituality is getting into the flow state, and I achieve that through maybe the repetition and not trying to get into a state where I'm not overthinking, where I'm just making. So that's probably why there's so much repetition in my work. I love nature. I think a lot of my work is often like trying to take a picture of where I am so I see it and remember it better. I think that's why I was drawing on my friends. It's like, I'm never gonna forget them now. I'm never gonna forget that moment, that dumb apartment, that, whatever it is, it's now locked in my memory. So I'm just trying to keep some things in there.
applause. So Michelle will be signing books at the back of the room, and also remember to check out the books and merchandise for sale in the back and in the bookstore, and visit our gallery next door if you haven't already. And then tomorrow you should join us for another great event with poet Dante Michaud, writer Annette Sanook Clapsaddle, and printmaker Jim Stroud. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.